Acharya Asto Tarasata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shivasri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shaima Kunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya ki jai. Jamuna Maya ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yogi ki jai. Brihat Badanga ki jai. Shri Shri Radhamana Mohan ki jai. All glories, Shri Shri Gurun Garanga Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnu-padāya Krishna Mishnā-Bhakti Bhakti-vedanta Swaminiti Nāmāny Namaste Sudevaya. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 6th Canto, Chapter 3. Thank you. Just now coming, huh? Okay, great. Shrinvatam Grinit. Someone else? Ladies? Someone else? Chanting. Viryani, the wonderful activities. Uddamani, able to counteract sin. As Sujataya, easily brought forth. Bhaktya, by devote the heart and soul. Vrata adibihi, by performing ritualistic ceremonies. Can very easily attain the platform of pure devotional service, which can cleanse the dirt from one's heart. Nāmāny haranty agham, aviśrānti-prayuktāni, tāny evārtha-karāṇi, karāṇi cha. Jananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. In a world without doubt. And every time I come, Krishna's manifesting in more forms. You're going to run out of walls before too long, but anyway, he's especially merciful here. Brahmacharis, brahmacharis, they are they're like the backbone of the temple, but temple means community. So, and the brahmacharis' purpose is to themselves practice devotional service and go out and inspire others in Krishna consciousness. So the proof of the brahmachari strength of the brahmachari ashram, the grahastha ashram should be growing, because there should be more and more people coming through your preaching. So both have to continue. So next time you have to give us the numbers. Last time there were, 500 members of the congregation. So if you triple that, they'd be... because basically they were kind of saying, in modern parlance, they were saying to Yamaraj, who were those guys? Who were... Hare Krishna. So they approached Yamaraj in this angry mood. Who were those guys? Why were we not able to take Ajamil? And by the way, who's in charge? Vishnu, the special position of Lord Vishnu's devotees, and then particularly the power of the holy name, and how Yamaraj was rescued by the Vishnu Dutas because of his calling upon the Lord's name. So in this particular verse, there's 3 or 4 verses. Yamaraj has stopped his instruction to his servants. So now Śukadeva Gosvāmī, in his conversation, his instruction to Parīkṣit Maharaj, he's adding a few more verses of his own, sharing his own thoughts, his own realizations, his own insights about the holy name to Maharaj Parīkṣit. So here in this verse, Śukadeva Gosvāmī is making 3 particular points. One, he's explaining that if we hear, one who constantly hears and chants about the Lord can very easily attain the platform of pure devotion. So we know it's described many places in the scripture. Pure devotion is not an easy thing to achieve, but Śukadeva Gosvāmī is telling Parīkṣit Maharaj it's actually very easy to achieve if one hears and chants the Lord's name and the Lord's activities. So that's one point that Śukadeva Gosvāmī is making here. The second point he's making is he's explaining how that is true, because by such chanting it cleanses all the dirt from one's heart. And all of us know, if we look at our own our lives and the thoughts that pop up in our minds throughout the day, there's so many unclean things in our hearts, isn't it? We think, sometimes we find ourselves with thinking ill thoughts about another person, even a Vaishnava. Sometimes just pops in our mind. Or sometimes I was sitting here trying to meditate a little bit on giving class, and my mind is very much follows the instruction Krishna gives in the Bhagavad-gītā that if it's uncontrolled, it's your worst enemy. So it's always reminding me that it's my worst enemy. So I'm sitting thinking about giving class, and my mind is telling me, you're useless, why are you sitting here? So I was thinking, well, I may be useless, but at least let me say something about Krishna. So there's so much dirt, so many negative thoughts, so pure, and revealing to us there's a lot of dirt in our hearts. We shouldn't be discouraged by that. Prabhupada would give the example, just like if you go to clean your house, it may look reasonably named, and the importance of chanting the holy name. So Śukadeva Gosvāmī, as the guru of Parīkṣit Maharaj, is stressing this point. Please, he says, like if you can become cleansed and you can attain pure devotional service. So in order to understand this, really the seriousness of this, it helps to remember Parīkṣit Maharaj's situation. He's not just an ordinary person who decided to come to Bhagavatam class. All of us, we try to come to Bhagavatam class hopefully every day. Sometimes we're not able to come every day. Sometimes maybe some neighbors wander by. They just kind of come in, okay, let me hear. That's not Parīkṣit Maharaj's situation. He's been cursed to die. Bank of the sacred rivers, to be surrounded by the great sages, asking them, what should I do now? What should I hear about? What should I chant? And Śukadeva Gosvāmī says, how to keep your money and how to pass it on to the next generation. So I saw these books and I immediately was thinking, this is a big pressure for these people. If you expand a big company, or if you inherit a lot of money from your predecessors, your ancestors, I don't have that pressure on me. I didn't hear a lot of money, nothing particularly glorious about my family lineage that I have to continue on. But these people, they had all this money that those of us from the outside are thinking, oh, they're so fortunate. They just have a life of so much freedom and so much opportunity. But in their minds, they're feeling great pressure. How will I keep the money? How will I expand the money and pass it on to the next generation? So even you go to the higher planets, or the more opulent places in this planet, still there's so much pressure. There's so little real success, as Śukadeva Gosvāmī is saying here. Ultimately, these things, they're a waste of time in terms of the ultimate purpose of life. Of course, if someone is successful in this world and they utilize that position to help them serve Krishna, to help us, but if we don't understand the ultimate aim, then Prabhupada is explaining they have no purpose. There's no ultimate benefit there. So, of course, Krishna confirms that in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. From the topmost planet in the material world down to the lowest, he says, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. I live in a country where a little embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I am from Washington, so you can't let at least any one day go by without some political comment. Somehow we've elected a man who's fabulously wealthy to be the president. He's an extremely powerful person. He's got a reputation. His name is known all around the world. He's on his third beautiful wife. Who knows how many more he'll have. But the man's totally angry and frustrated. He just kind of like, almost seems like a little description of Hiranyakashipu or something. He just has so much, but he's not satisfied. Not satisfied at all. Because he has so much, but still that frustration is there. So devotees were meant to observe these things. And Śukadeva Gosvāmī is summarizing that to Parīkṣit Maharaj. Chant the holy name. It can purify you. No other ritualistic performances can do so. And keep your mind focused on the ultimate aim of life. So, relevance to us. We're not Parīkṣit Maharaj. We don't know if we have 7 days, maybe 7 weeks, maybe 7 years, maybe 70 years, maybe 7 hours. We don't know. Sometimes we see, I remember one time I was in Chicago going back from some Sankirtan program, and I was on the freeway and a car drove. There is nothing in this world other than Krishna. The whole Bhagavad-gītā, so many chapters describing Krishna says, I'm the taste of water, I'm the light of the sun and the moon. See, everything here is just whatever beautiful or opulent things, he says, whatever wondrous things we see, they come from a spark of his splendor. And if that's the case, then uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly, O Govinda, O Krishna. It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord also, it depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy... So much big cities and opulence and wealth and amazing material achievements, but then one natural disaster after another, after another, after another. So with just one big wind, whole cities are blown down. With one big flood, whole villages, dozens of villages are washed away. With one fire, whole communities are eliminated. I was in Portugal recently, and Portugal is a small country, but at one point in time it was one of the most powerful empires, at least in the European sphere. They rivaled the Spanish, and I think were more powerful than the British before England got big. So I didn't know much about Portuguese history, but they were telling us there was one very important, many important events in Portuguese history, but one particular disaster. They're Catholic, Christian Catholics, so they observed something called All Saints. Earlier this year I was in Russia, was driving between the temple and some other place, and there was this huge, beautiful monument structure, and it looked, I'm not in Paris, I'm in Moscow. What's this structure? So, of course, Napoleon, he built this big monument to himself and to what he'd conquered when his empire was so powerful. So I asked the devotee who was driving me, I said, this looks just like the Arc de Triomphe. Why is this in Moscow? He said, this is the one we built when we defeated Napoleon. So Napoleon builds this big monument. Napoleon's gone, but then the Russians built one just like he built when they defeated Napoleon. So you can rise, you can become Napoleon, you can become Alexander, but it's all tottering. And therefore the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam describes, we should not take shelter in these false materialistic soldiers. We're kind of fighting a battle in the world just to live, to maintain ourselves, maintain our families, but devotees are meant to see all of these materialistic things we can surround ourselves with. Materialistic friends, money, my body itself, described in this work, Vedic rituals, they can't really protect us. They can't really help us. And therefore, Śukadeva Gosvāmī says to Parīkṣit Maharaj, please note this down. Please make special note of this. By praying to the Lord, by chanting the Lord's name with feeling, as Kunti Deva is describing here, by chanting the Lord's name with feeling, we will become purified. We will clean our hearts. And we will awaken love of Krishna, and we will go back to Godhead. That's the promise given by Śukadeva Gosvāmī. Instruction is not just for Parīkṣit Maharaj, but it's for us. We should be thinking, please let me note this down. Let me take this very seriously. In the other ritualistic processes, other religious activities, maybe there's this benefit, that benefit. They can't award the ultimate benefit. They can't award pure love of God. But if I chant the Lord, I will gradually awaken my knowledge of Krishna, my love of Krishna, and I'll go back to Godhead. So Śukadeva Gosvāmī is stressing that point for us, and we should try to take it deeply in the process of devotional service. That, Prabhupada told us we come every morning, we study the Bhagavatam, we hear about Krishna, so we learn those things, then we chant and engage in devotional service, so our hearts become purified. And it's explained elsewhere, just like if you have a mirror and it's dirty. We hear from our guru, from our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, from the great saints whose teachings are there. I mean, so many books. These are all about just helping us. And I have the power to change that choice. It's up to me. The guru gives us the instructions, but we have to apply it. Prabhupada describes some places just like a pilot can teach you how to fly a plane, but you have to fly your own plane. So we have to pray to him, Krishna, please, I don't want materialistic life. I mean, my mind may tell me so many things, but I don't want that. Even sometimes something as simple as, you walk down the street and your mind thinks, oh, I want that. You just have to stop, say, no, Krishna, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want you. So cultivating that knowledge, cultivating that awareness, because part of it is demonstrating to Krishna, this is what we want. He's in our heart. Why is he giving people the material world? Because they want it. So we have to get rid of that desire. And it's a gradual process. But Prabhupada says every one step we take towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards her. He writes, when one is firmly convinced of the opulences of the Lord, he accepts Krishna with great service to the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is, for by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. So Prabhupada wrote all these books, translated them, has us distribute them all around the world, so people can learn and know about Krishna. So take advantage of Prabhupada's books and his lectures and his instructions and association with devotees. All those things are there to help us. Okay? And even when we come see the deities, and you look at the deities and then Krishna is so beautiful. Sometimes when we chant, we get this experience, Krishna's name is so sweet. And even if we don't...
How I can remember, and another question, how I can remember this thing? Like this material world is really...
Yeah, nice question. We'll go on quoting the verses because that deepens our philosophical understanding. But the other thing is just open your eyes. I'm saying that to myself. Just open our eyes. Last night I stay in a very nice room in the guest house, and last night there was a little kind of a caterpillar worm. It was very small, crawling across the floor. And I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow morning because he's right in the shower. And he crawls slowly, but I know he doesn't swim. But by the morning, he was still in the same place, apparently dead. So I'm thinking, what is this world, He was a healthy little caterpillar just 12 hours ago, and now he's dead. So, we see these things all around us. And just, we don't want to be, we want to make sure we don't, spend too much time contemplating the material world, because if we do, the opposite effect can happen. But we're not, we're supposed to open our eyes and see what's going on in the world around you. When you're walking on the road and you hear, as we often do, a car crash, or you're just we're simple devotees, we might not have much, but what would it be like, you go home and there was a fire and everything's gone. Or if one of our temples was, destroyed by some kind of, natural disaster, how much pain is there? So in that way, we should understand and think about our position here is very flickering. I mentioned like that, driving on the road, and that's in my mind there forever. Picture that car upside down. Remember, the wheels are still turning. So he's driving so fast, the wheel is still driving, but he might not even been there. He might have been dead and gone. His soul might have already left by then. So see, notice those things. And feel some compassion for those people too. You try to awaken that compassion. This is a devotee of Krishna who's suffering. It's not just a karmi or a materialistic person. This is a devotee of Krishna who's, just like me, has forgotten their relationship with Krishna, come into the world out of ignorance, and they're suffering. And I'm similarly suffering, and my situation is similarly precarious. So let me wake up, connect with Krishna, and as best I can help them connect with Krishna. Okay? Yes, Prabhu. I can maybe repeat the question.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Yeah, thank you very much for the wonderful class. I just want to, it's not a question, but
I think real close. I don't
yeah,
hear
I'm sharing actually. What I have understood from this class, that this is a very serious conversation, which is where the message is coming that the Parīkṣit Maharaj and Śukadeva Gosvāmī, this conversation is giving a teaching that taking Krishna consciousness, practicing devotional life is not a choice, but it is an emergency. So, that we tend to forget the emergency or the seriousness of taking up Krishna consciousness. So how to remind ourselves and take up this process more seriously?
Same answer. Associate devotees, read Prabhupada's books, accept the process of devotional service, and through that process we're hearing a different perspective. We're reinforcing a different perspective. I flew here from Mumbai, was sitting next to a guy, maybe in India, and I was talking, he was telling about his job and his money and this and that, and he took his kids to Dubai, and he took his kids to Australia, and I was trying, and when I tried to inject a little Krishna consciousness into the thing, he wasn't interested. Even they brought a meal, and to my dismay, he ordered non-veg. And so I asked him, I said, I'm surprised you're an intellectual. I'm surprised you're not vegetarian. And he said, why are you vegetarian? And I said, well, there's many reasons. I said, it's better for your health, it's better for the environment. And even that, he didn't want to hear. It was like, 1,000. I think India is 3 times that. 100, that's a lack of people. Well, it means every time you get in the car, statistically, what am I might make it, I might not. I better chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. So we should think, I'll end with this story. I went to China a few years ago, and I was looking through the airline magazine, and there was a story about a famous rock musician. I guess they'd say rock contemporary musician, Amy something, maybe Winehouse. Oh, I better get serious. And again, Parīkṣit Maharaj, his guru is telling him, note this down. Don't just let it, bounce off the top of your head. Note this down. This is important. Take this seriously, Parīkṣit Maharaj. So in the same way, we should be telling ourselves, let me take it seriously. After class, if there's 1 or 2 or 3 things every day we go to a class that we think is particularly important, we should stop and think, let me remember this. This is important. Put it in our brain. Change the quality of our thinking process. Okay, we'll stop there. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.